Hey, thank you. All right, so we're going to do tour prizes. This is Shirley, because if this is recorded and you haven't seen the previous part. Before I start the Aztec stitch, let me show you the prizes that we have today. We have 9. One of them is a $25 gift certificate to a future workshop sponsored by our chapter or National ANG. So, but we're going to do things a little differently to speed things along. We have randomly numbered them, and Chris will announce the number and the person who earned it. So I know you're going to get excited. First off, this is a project that features the Aztec stitch. It's a wonderful book, The Taste of Old Mexico. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We have 2 projects fully kitted, thanks to Lois Kirshner on the Aztec stitch. No pad covers. I'll talk about that a little bit more. This is no surprise. Some great pins, counting pins from Puffin. And then we have a lovely line needle minder from Accoutrements, number 5. Here is from Olive and Archer. Put that upside down. I have it upside down. And you guys can see it too. It's a beautiful handbook, journal handbook line in here from Olive and Archer. And then thanks to Carrie Arn, who donated the journals. I add these little journals. She made these up. We added hand-dyed fiber plus the pre-cut for the Aztec stitch. So you can put that on the back if you like. Okay, so this is what we're gonna have. And at the end, Chris is gonna announce the winners. Yes, I did. Okay. So let me now spotlight my other camera. So let's see. And if you spotlight, I'll turn on the camera here. Oh no, before I do that, let me do now, I had a fun time, and unfortunately, the people here, as Joanne said, we did have a bit of difficulty, so they do not, unfortunately, have the ability to see on the big screen this is not it. There it is, the presentation here. Okay, present, and let me do this on the Aztec stitch, but this will be sent out to everybody. Oops, let me go back. So, and I do have my things here. Can you guys see this up here? We'll try to do that, and I know it's a little small for those. Judy Boland is here too. Oh, Chris, Judy Boland is also here as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so for those who don't know, I'm going to talk about the origins of the Aztec stitch. But first off, I want to thank Jana Bass. She's one of our remote members, and she turned me on to a number of resources about this. And I got into this little rabbit hole. I'll show you the rabbit hole I got into. Okay, so one of the things I want to do the Aztec stitch, because obviously San Diego is close to Mexico, and we should see they did samplers as well. And there's of course a lot of influences from where? Spain, you know, so we'll see that in a minute. So here's a very brief history. You can see that it's pre-Hispanic. You know, the Catholic nuns that came over in the 1500s, they had these convents. Of course, girls were trained like European girls to be good housewives, you know, to be good domestics. And one of the things they did learn, because that was the thing, white work, sampler, stitches, motifs. The one that you see on the left is typical of what the Spanish motifs were, the white work, okay? And this is, by the way, courtesy of the Victoria and Albert Museum. It is wonderful. So for those who can go to the Victoria and Albert Museums, they will allow you to see their samplers. You just have to talk to a curator. At least when I was there, I asked them, and you're with gloves, able to pull out the drawers. So that was really cool. But I added on the website, so when you get the PowerPoint, you can link to it and see their collection. So, but in any case, this, you know, we know about the Spanish conquistadors going to Mexico. You know, the pre-Hispanic people there already had dyers and weavers and embroiderers. It's just after the conquest, Spanish needlepoint skills or needle weaving skills were infused or integrated into that. All right. And they, of course, in convents, they taught stitching or samplers. Okay, so now, really the Aztec stitch, what is it? You know, where's the origin of the name come from? Really, a lot of people don't know. And of course, I think if we were to go to Mexico or to Spain, and I don't speak Spanish, we could find one, but I'm not seeing any research in that. Just really, well, when did it start in the US? That part we do know, okay? So we know that the stitch itself, actually the diagram itself, not the name, actually appeared in 1930 called Embroiderist Magazine. And actually I have that here. That's one of the things that went down the rabbit hole. I actually paid, can you believe it? I actually paid for a subscription. So if you like, here is, I'm gonna pass this around. I'm passing around, guys, physically, the article that I downloaded from the embroiderist, but for those to the remote, I'll send it as a PDF link. Okay, so you'll get it as a PDF file. But the Embroiderist Magazine, you know, it just started out in Ireland. It was a quarterly magazine published in London by the thread manufacturer, you know, Pearsall and Company, in Old Bleach, London of Ireland. So of course, what did they do? They used the magazine to promote all their threads, right? So, and it was started in 1922 until 1939. And now it's now been reimagined as the embroidery magazine, but you can look at all the old archives, okay? They didn't use the term, but they diagrammed it. So here's one where they diagrammed it in a round shape, and then one as diagonal, as an overcast filling. All right, and this is what they call it, the Mexican sampler, right? As part of the Mexican sampler from 1931. Now, Wilama Bristol, does anyone know who she is? Wilama Bristol, do you know who she is? She's actually she's a lecturer with EGA. She's now deceased, but her portfolio of designs is with the American Art of Washington, D.C., and her art is featured everywhere. Well, she's kind of the premier of samplers, and she says she doesn't think the Aztec stitch, she stated the Aztec stitch originated from Spain, and she doesn't know why it's called Aztec stitch. I think she was wrong. Okay, and I'll tell you why she's wrong. Because per the LA County Museum of Art, in their section, they say the Aztec stitch is usually unique to colonial Mexican samplers. Okay, but here we're going on to sites to this slide now, and they actually, the Cooper Hewitt Museum does say that they are first to use the Aztec stitch. This is how we're able to locate that name. Are anyone familiar with the Cooper Hewitt Museum, the Smithsonian? Okay. If there's any questions, please ask me.
I've been there, Shirley. It's in New York City.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. It's apparently, it's connected to the Smithsonian. And it's a design a museum that's, it's exclusively devoted to historical and contemporary design. And it's the steward of one of the most diverse and comprehensive design collections in existence. More than 210,000 design objects spanning 30 centuries. And they have ancient textiles and works on papers to icons of modern design and cutting edge technology. So what you see here is a 1984 book on embroidered samplers from their collection. And they describe samplers from all around the world. And it's really fascinating. So in fact, for free, we downloaded the entire publication. That I will also send along. You can see the rabbit hole I got into there. I'm going to send that along as a PDF for everybody so they can read that. It's really fascinating. So one of the things that they did highlight in this book from 1870 is this wonderful, I don't know, and I'm sorry, the people locally here can't really see it. A Mexican sampler that was bequeathed by Alfred Maudsley. Turns out he was an archaeologist from England. He was very novel and he collected a lot of samples. As long as samplers to Mexico, he loved South American art. He collected a lot, apparently. Now I know it's hard to see, but here's the Aztec stitch here. Let's see. Here, can you see that, guys? You see the red, and here, the red one, and here. So I have, don't worry, I have closer looks. And if you want, you can see that. But this is the traditional where it goes, this person stitched in a circle. Remember we showed that before? And they did just lateral, okay? Just did a diagonal. Again, they only used the circles, but they actually did a little motif in different colors, okay? So that's one way of doing it. And they used, looks like the nun stitch to hold everything in place. Now here's a closer look, again, from the same piece. They used a round circle, but they changed the stitch. They went around in the corners and then they changed threads again to create a motif. And that's really difficult to do. And we'll show you, well, it's difficult in a way because you have to understand geometry and wrapping and turning around. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so now what I would like you to look at is Lillian Koch. Now this is where Jana really turned me on. This is a woman who does, this is a 2022, her interpretation of a Mexican sampler. And she used quite a bit of the Aztec stitch. And look what she did. She not only used different colors, she used also, she didn't stitch everything. She just left some and she only stitched some, but she used different colors to do some diagonally or some in a round circle. It looks like all of them are in round circles. Okay, not only she did round circles here in the second bottom example, she just left it. She only cut the top part and cut the bottom part. In the middle is all embroidery. So she just interspersed two designs here. So it's really, really cool what this woman did. And finally, this is hard to see and I'm sorry, but when we send this out, you could see it more clearly. If you notice the sides, she didn't use a nun stitch. She did a satin stitch doing a diamond pattern. And that's what she did. A nun stitch is easier for a lot of people, but you could do that as well. So she can hold the cutting and all that. So, so she did a satin stitch, and then these are all where she changes color into her own design. This is fantastic. You know, this is really, really fabulous. So, but for today, what we're going to do, we're just going to do something simple like this. We're going to cut, and we're going to learn how to do the diagonal today. And I know one of the things that's hardest for people is actually cutting the thread. So that's why we have sample thread here, sample canvases here. And then you could just cut a piece and we'll learn how to cut it.
So if anybody here wants a piece of canvas to try it?
They're all 13 count. They're 13 count, which is big, you know, obviously bigger. And I'll show you the ones I did on 18 count. Now the one that Lillian did, by the way, this is on linen, okay? This is on, the whole piece is done on linen, as you can tell, okay? And then this is, we're very fortunate. All of you should have received a copy of Lois Kirshner's Aztec stitch. Did you, of ornament? Has anyone, if you have not, just let me know.
It went out with the announcement.
Went out to announcement, but if you didn't get it, let me know. I can always send it out again, and I can send out another stitch diagram as well. But this is what we're going to be doing today. It's just simply the diagonal stitch. Okay, so any questions? Stop share. Any questions so far? Okay, great. So what we're going to do is that we're going to practice cutting. So I'm going to switch now to my other, okay, so let me.
You need to have the camera on in order for it to be put spotlighted.
Okay, let me do that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be on the other camera. Oh, cool. Okay. So let me show you what I have done, which is really exciting. This is what Lois's version is. Okay, do you see that?
You have two of them. Can we send
Yep,
one
we can see
around?
two of them. All right. So what Lois did was simply, it should have been on the other side. So it's like a little notebook, but I did mine backwards by accident. So it meant to be like a little notebook. So I just used tape I happen to have. You don't have to use that. And then I happen to find ribbon. So you have that as well, you know, but you don't have to have that in there. Also in my sampler, as you see here, can you guys see that? So I added that in there as
Can I
well.
pass one of your things around?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
You can pass both of them around. So do you see that? So we have the Aztec sampler here. And it's really an easy stitch. And what I did here, if you notice this part, I practice using over-dyed threads. For the new people, do you know what over-dyed threads are? No? Okay, Carrie
Yes.
doesn't, and I don't think Kimberly does. So this is a piece of over-dyed thread.
It's like variegated.
It's
colors.
variegated thread, and they're dyed in different dye lots and different colors or shades. Some are very stark, some are very, very, very mute, or some are very, you know, in the same family, like all blues or all reds. Well, I was playing around. You know, you get a lot of extra threads thrown at you and I thought it'd be fun. And I like the overdyed threads because what you do is, you know, it kind of gives it a different flavor for it. And this was red, white, and blue, which I like. You know, I love Americana. So that was fun. That's fun to experiment. And then what I did was, and we're going to look at this in a moment. We'll look at the shading. But if you see that, I was trying to do one where you just turn the page and you make it. It's really kind of easy. It's actually quite easy. So, but we'll show you how to do the basic ones that will just go diagonally. Once you get through that, you can experiment with others. But this is a really fun stitch, okay? And so what we're gonna do now is talk about the scissors. Now what I have here is a Ginger's Italian scissors.
They're wonderful.
Yeah.
What?
They're wonderful.
On your canvas.
And today I have to. This is my only one.
There's a pair of scissors over here.
There are extra scissors over there too.
Yeah.
Is it very sharp?
I have some sharp ones.
Do not ruin those scissors.
Yeah, don't use those.
Okay, well, it's okay, guys. It's my scissors. I don't mind it. So they do recommend Davos. Davos is good embroidery scissors too.
But there are lots of sharp scissors.
There's a lot of sharp scissors, but you want them pointed,
Mhm.
okay? So one of the common things to do is let's talk about the measuring and the cutting. Because this looks very daunting, okay? So let me explain that. And in here and in here. So can you see this? Can you see this? Okay. So typically the Aztec stitch is—
You need to speak up, Shirley.
Okay, sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna have to bring the laptop down. It's one of our technical challenges today. Okay, because I couldn't bring in the my microphone. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, I had to bring the microphone closer. Okay, let me do this. All right, here we go. It's actually better for me to see anyway. All right, so let me know if I'm too soft. I'll try to speak louder. You guys are okay with my voice? All right. Well, so let me talk about the counting. All right, thank you. When you wrap Aztec stitch and you want to make that look, you want to have 2 threads for every wrap. And that's what you're doing. You're just wrapping and wrapping, and then you're going to move in a certain diagonal manner, and you're going to wrap in different ways. We'll show the technique for wrapping. Did everyone bring a copy of the Aztec notepad cover, or what you brought down? Okay. For those who did, For those who did, if you want to turn to the page of the wrapping, which is page, what page is that? I didn't memorize it.
Wrapping, well, the page 5.
Page 5, okay. All right, and it's the same as this one I'm going to show. This is called Aztec Stitch by Denise Busum. I will also send this out to everybody. Okay, so if you look at this, so if you look at the wrapping is every 2. Do you see that? It's over 2 threads. Then you pull it over and you wrap over 2. So how do you get to the 2 each time, right? We'll talk about that. So in the cutting, so that's why you want to have 6. So it's really easy math. So if you want to have bigger or smaller, do it in groups of 6. 4 is a little too small, I think, as I try to do wraps of threads of 2 instead of 6 threads. So I recommend that. Now we have a bigger, and I looked at Lillian's and I looked at the 1840 sampler, they're all 6s, okay? So it's 3 wraps. So it'll be 3 wraps. Then you cut 2 in between, just 2 threads. Now, how do you make sure that you get the right wrap? Well, you use sewing thread. So this is what I did, and I don't have to, you use sewing thread, and what you want to do is to go under and over the 6, under the 2, over the 6. So you just cut where the under the 2 is, so that way you don't miscount. You know, did anyone bring sewing? Does anyone have sewing thread here?
I'm sorry, I don't see 6 threads. The 6 threads she's talking about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you cut the square out, there are 6 threads going down, 6 threads going across. So that's what she's talking about. You basically, I think you need to start with cutting the 2 and then counting 6 over and then cutting another 2. Can you say that to the group?
Okay, so it's cutting the 2, go over 6 threads, cut another 2, and then you pull that out. But you not only have to do it this way, you also have to do it across as well.
Yes. Okay.
Now, it did took me a long time because I deliberately made myself a really big piece. So I could use this as a practice piece to show that.
Okay.
You know, that's why I recommend you want to use a practice piece. And if you screw up, then you screw up. It's okay. All right, now if you can have any thin thread, you don't have to have sewing thread, but something that will go over and under. So let me show you.
So most of us didn't bring sewing thread.
Oh, you don't need sewing thread. Okay. Can someone give me, oh, wait, hold on. I even have pearl cotton. So let me bring some.
Is this always done on mono canvas?
No, you can do it on any type of canvas. You can do it on any type of canvas if you like. So, okay, so I happen to have purple thread here because it doesn't really matter what kind. Okay, and then of course, yeah, so what you want to do, if you want to practice this, you know, however long that you want. Okay, let me just thread up this.
So when you, I have a question. So
Sure.
when you cut the first 2, you don't cut a square out. You just cut the 2. You know, you take the whole square out, right?
You don't. You do the nun. Well,
you do the nun stitch.
Right. So you want to do the nun stitch that. So in order to calculate how big your piece is, right? So let's say you want. What does she say? Let's say, okay, so you have 5 by 5, or you want a small piece here. Okay, so this is what I do. I don't know, can you see this? It's really kind of small. Maybe I should have had a dark. Oh, yeah.
No, dark table.
Yeah. You're gonna pull the threads out.
I understand now. You pull the threads out.
You pull the threads out to make it a square.
That's what I see.
Okay. Hi, Janet. Okay, Janet Dix is here. How's this? Is
There
this
you go.
easier to see? Okay.
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, so if you, I don't know if you could see, I have under 2. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is me. I'm just lazy. So I go under 2 and then over 6. And I go over to a size that I want to do. Once I figured out the size I want to do with my thread, you can use, you don't have to have sewing thread. Okay. Oops. 6. And you want to go the opposite way as well. Then I do the nun stitch, because the nun stitch takes an extra 2 beyond. So this will be the nun stitch here and nun stitch there. So I'll add the nun stitch all the way around. And that's how I figure out my size. Do you guys get it? Any questions? You know what? Let me use the darker thread.
What's the nun stitch, Shirley?
The nun stitch here, I'm going to send you. Hi, Cheryl. Are you here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the nun stitch is actually a kind of like a binding stitch. And some
Yeah,
people,
like a blanket stitch.
it's like a blanket stitch.
Yeah,
You remember Lillian didn't, this will be sent out to you as well. I'm going to email this to you as well. Lillian didn't use the nun stitch. It's really a stabilizer or a 4-sided square stitch. You don't have to use a nun stitch. You can use a 4-sided square stitch, or she used a satin stitch. She used a satin stitch and she went, so that's as long as it holds the pattern, okay? So you can do any pattern that you like, and that's how it determines your size. So let me use something that's thicker, because I have, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do this, because this, normally you don't use this thread because you want to cut it out, but I'm going to use this for the sake of visibility, okay? All right. So that way people can see it. All right. I'm going to do this. Okay, so can anyone see this? All right, here we go. So I'm going to go under 2 over 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if anybody wants to do math, they can do it themselves, because really it's groups of 8, right? When you're going over. You see it now? There you go, under 2. And over 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you know that where your scissors go is where not over where the 6 is. So that's one way of doing it. So once I get to the length that I want, then I know why, and I'll have to turn it around. So for the mat, for the sake of this, I am going to turn this over now to make a corner. Okay. So what you want to do for the corner here, because you need to really cut this part here. So how did I do this? So if you notice, you need to cut the 2 here on the side. Do you see that? And then you have to cut the 2 on the other side. So I just simply do it this way to make it easier for myself. So I know I cut these 2. Do you see this? I just simply start with a new thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I know to cut these 2 and leave these 6 alone.
Okay, so I did that.
I'm just watching.
Okay.
So we haven't cut a thing yet.
No. I know you haven't cut a thing yet. I'm just showing you how we marked it. Okay, so now I'm going to start cutting. Is everybody comfortable now how to at least mark it out so that way you're not missing the stitch? Okay, that's pretty cool. All right. So the cutting I have learned from Gayanne Rogers. If anyone knows Gayanne, she does a lot of cutting. She's a famous teacher, a well-known needle artist, as well as teacher. In fact, you can see her on her website, GayanneRogers.com. And she does a lot of cut work, drawn work. So thanks to Gayanne. One of the things I learned from her and from other teachers, that when you cut, you make sure to cut down. You see this? You make sure to cut down right here. There's my first cut. And here's my second cut.
Shirley, you're off the screen.
Oh, sorry. How's this? Here's my second cut right here. Oops. I'm gonna just have to cut from here. I'm gonna cut from the bottom. Normally I'll cut from the top for me, but do you see this? I'm cutting from here. So I cut 2 pieces off. And then what I do with, I have a long trolley needle and I put this and I pull this up. And normally I will go up here and cut 2 pieces. Sometimes I don't. I'll cut them later. So anybody want to practice cutting right now? Like I said, if you already have it on your piece, you could use another one to practice cutting. And then what you want to do is then use the needle, pull this up. I pulled it too much. It's a bit stiff. It's easier with linen because it's a lot more pliable. It's a little more stiffer using 13 count or 14 count mesh. And there we go. I don't normally use 14 count mesh. So this is what you want to do. Normally you want to pull up on one side first, and then you want to cut on the other side to pull out everything, because it's easier than to find out where your rows are. And then it's easier to count out the 6 to make that little square when you rotate it on the other side. Okay, now this one I deliberately didn't bother to do a satin stitch or anything to bind it. Okay. So everyone comfortable with the cutting, or just practice cutting while we're talking? So let me tell you now how we're going to do the wrapping. Let me show you. Okay. For this one, a pearl cotton number 5 is really nice, you know, but you could use silk or whatever, but pearl cotton I find is the best. For me, it flows a lot. So I'm going to get some pearl cotton, and let's see where I brought a lot of stuff. Oh, here it is. And I also have pearl cotton that's over dye, so it's really kind of cool. So I'm going to use one of the over dye threads. Yeah. Oops. This one you have to cut, actually. All right. I'm just going to have to cut this one.
I made one row, I made one side too short. I'm just coming to peek.
Okay, that'll be great. So, okay, so let me just put one here. Now we can follow the instructions in the in this particular one, in the Aztec Stitch by Denise, which again, it's the same one as Lois. I just like using this one because she actually had it color coordinated. This one I think she did too. I'm not sure. Yeah, she did have it color coordinated. Okay, so we're gonna use, you'll see this in her piece here. It's called wrapping the stitch now. And here's the rules. Okay, it's over a yard because you do not want to do this in the middle. I've done that. It's kind of a pain if you stop in the middle to replace the thread. So ideally you should put a yard or more when you start wrapping. And we're going to stack the wraps we don't let them overlay in order to cover the canvas thread. So we're going to start here. And this is how we're going to go up here. And then you turn around and you can either have a different color, or generally you want to have the same color, but she's doing it as a wrap. These 3 sections in the same color. So each square, if you notice, each square that I did here, 3 is all the same color. I only changed for the next 3 wraps. All right. So I'm going to go over here and I'll show you about the wraps.
May I ask a question about the
Sure.
pulling?
Sure.
How do you just pull it? You just get a tweezer and pull the thread out?
Yes. Or I use a trolley needle and I pull it every other thread out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I
do
go
it that way.
slowly going up. And
Okay.
you don't have to hurry. Yes. Okay. And normally you have a nun stitch or something to anchor, but I don't. And this is a practice piece. Okay. All right. So if you follow along, and there's a twisted way of doing it, because if you notice it has to come out. Here, I'll use it. If you notice, you start this way. Remember,
Oh, it's tearing.
it has to pull up this way. So your thread has to come out this way. Okay. So let me show you how we're doing it. Do you need help, Joanne?
No, I think I was just going to show. I think I saw how it's being done now. Okay.
Okay, so
I
here,
think I have one that's not working.
so here I'm wrapping here. Can you guys see it, or should I have the camera come down a little bit more? Okay. Generally, it's like 4 wraps. And this one, I think, is 18 count. I did this on 18 count. So it's 4 wraps. Now, if you then look at the instructions, then we go up and you wrap. So you wrapped the vertical, then you wrap the horizontal. Okay. So for those people local here, because you can't see it behind me, I will show you later on, demonstrate at the it later on here. So now you go up and now you're wrapping the horizontal. Usually 4 wraps for this for 18 count is more than enough, especially with a pearl cotton. How I got this part here, I just turned it 180 degrees and went a different way. And I kind of got confused. So I was still playing with this, but this is a good one to show. If you just do laterals or diagonals, it's really not only easy and fun. I find it fun because that's all you have to do.
Okay. Shirley?
Yes.
Shirley, I have a question. This is Kim. How many times do you wrap for each corner? Because I'm seeing a square, you're working within the square, but you're wrapping. So it's like what, 1, 2 per square, or is it gonna be the whole 4? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm seeing you working within a square, within the little square.
So I'm not wrapping within here. I'm wrapping whatever the threads are left bare by unraveling 2 and 2. So this is only the part you're wrapping. This part will be left completely open.
Blank.
It will be covered. Yeah. So if you look at this, do you see this is not wrapped at all? It's just the vertical lines being exposed by the 2. Okay. So okay. So now it's okay. I'll come up here because now I'm going to come here and now I'm going to wrap here. Okay, I'll get to you. So this is great. Once you pull this all out, you know, you could do this pretty quickly while sitting watching TV. That's what I did. If I'm not doing anything like turning around or doing a design, it wouldn't be so bad. So then you go up here and you just follow where the lines are. You have to make sure the lines go up there so it comes up in the right area. So if like I said, you can do it like 3 or 4. I like trying to do 4 so I can have those vertical lines captured. And I'm going to go up to a certain area and then I'm going to turn around and go back down. So in the 1984 Cooper Hewitt, it does explicitly say that the Aztec stitch is unique only to Mexican samplers. Yes, so we don't know how they coined the term, but this is their determination of the history of international samplers. So again, I will send out to you all those PDFs. It's really a fun journey to go down the rabbit hole on. And you come up here and you go down it. Do you see now? So I'm going to turn around here. I think so. Oh, I'm just going to turn around. Yeah. Turn around here like I pretend I am hitting my wall here. Okay. And I'll show you how to turn the corner when you're top of it. Okay. So you turn this 180 degrees. And you look at here too. Okay, and you turn this, I believe 180 degrees, you go down this way. So now I'm going to go here and turning. Do you see that? And now I'm just stitching this way.
That's mine.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. The thread has to come out this way. I forgot. Okay. I have to pull this out. So I have to do the twist a different way. So it's important that the strand comes out of here. Yeah. Out of the right-hand side. That's easy to do. Okay. Really? What? Oh, you go this way. That's it.
I'm using this little ring tool. Yeah, it's on using it. Is that working well? Yeah.
Okay, so let me do this. Yeah, the laying tool helps out too when cutting it all out.
Typical canvas.
Yeah, there's a basic canvas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna catch it behind here a bit so I can go the other way. No, that's not it. Okay. So I catch a little bit behind here. So I can go this way to make the loop here.
I think I'd rather do this on linen.
Yeah, this is hard work.
Yeah, some people can do that. The linen is smaller to see. Canvas is bigger.
Okay, so I got all that. You got a whole one done? How do we get the ones in the middle out?
Okay. So I'm going to turn to go the other way here. Can you see that? There we go. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So it's really a matter of turning the canvas back and forth. It does take some getting used to turning the canvas 180 degrees. And I'm using over dyed threads here, so I don't know if you see that I am, yeah, I'm just gonna do an overlay over here. There we go. Because I'm a right-handed person, I'm gonna keep turning it back and forth so I can keep putting here. Of course, it does get a little, you don't want your threads to be caught up in the other wrap above. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I gotta mark this off. Okay. Can you see this very well? There we go.
I would cry.
All right. Actually, it was quite soothing when I made the other one, so worked out really well for me.
How's everybody doing online?
Yeah, how's everyone doing online?
There?
No.
No? I did not.
Have people gone?
Oh, want to go on that stitch.
Everybody's figuring out how to cut. Cutting is the big thing.
Shirley, this is Sue Reed.
Nice.
When I have cut threads from a canvas like that, I realize that this is only 2 threads we're cutting and then leaving a block of 4. But what I have found that helps me a lot is if I remove the first thread of a cut, then that second thread that I'm going to remove that has been cut, I kind of push it into the open area and it loosens it and it makes it easier to withdraw it from the canvas.
Oh, thank you so much, Sue. That is a very good. And Sue Reed is a great teacher. She's taught more than I've never taught, really. So I like to take her advice with a huge grain of salt. No, not a huge grain of salt. It's the opposite way. Sorry, Sue. I got my metaphor wrong.
That's okay. You could toss the advice in the trash if you want to. I just found that helped me. If once I got that very first thread removed, I then took the second thread that had been cut at both ends. I then scooched it to the open area of the previously removed thread. And it just kind of breaks that tightness to the canvas. It makes it easier to withdraw it. I've used a crochet hook and a dental device too. As much as I don't like the dentist, I use a dental device to remove the threads.
You know, we found a collection of small crochet hooks. So if anybody would like, we will give some to the local people here. So I'm going to stop the program at this part, unless somebody wants me to continue. This is a really fun, again, a really fun stitch. And it does, you know, the cutting does take some time, but the wrapping, you know, it doesn't take that long. It's just turning it around. I would like to, now that I've been doing it, I want to do the challenge that Lillian did. is to do and change out threads in between. So I hope you guys challenge yourselves as well, instead of just doing, you know, doing beyond the diagonal, which is still nice. It's really beautiful, but there's so much more to that stitch. So I'm going to end this program at this time. And I think we have some people in chat. Maybe they,
And maybe we can find out who won the different door
and we'll
prizes.
do that. And then,
Did she add
You
Janet?
want me to stop recording?
no, no, not yet, because we want people to know who won what. So let me let me remove the spotlight,
And did Chris get?
and then we'll spotlight on Chris.
Did she get Janet Dix?
Oh, Janet Dix is also online.
Not here. She's here.
I mean, I'm sorry. Janet Dix is here. Sorry. And Tony Montrone is here too. And there's Barbara. Here's Barbara and CJ Fry. Yeah, now we see Sue Reed and Shirley. Okay, great. Chris, do you want to announce who the Cheryl Forster, are you on? No. Chris, I thought I heard her. Was she here?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there's Cheryl. So Cheryl, and also obviously Joe will record this, but Cheryl, you want to add this on to the next newsletter? Who won what?
Oh, and I forgot to add.
Okay.
Oh, one of our members had a really good idea. She would like to have, one of our members would like to know who the new members are and introduce themselves. I think it's very nice.
That's a great idea.
Okay, so our new members, Chris, they are?
Kimberly Scott, I think, is the only person that's on today that's brand new.
Oh, we have Mary Ann as well, who's in the house.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
So Kimberly, you want to introduce yourself? Are you still on?
I'm on.
Yeah,
I'm on.
Kimberly's on. Mhm.
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, good. I'm Kimberly Scott, and I've been searching for needlepoint for a very long time, since I was a teenager. And when I started working for the County of San Diego, I met a friend who did needlepoint, beautiful canvases, Star Wars and things for her son's karate class. And I asked her to start teaching me, and we agreed to do it. But every year her son got older, and she required to be more present for him. So I got stuck with nothing, and I kept looking and looking and looking. And finally, I ended up having to retire from the county. And I said, I need something to fill this void. And I finally found the needle pointing group, the national group first. And then they said for me to join the local group, and they had to give me a connection to that. And so now I'm here, and I'm like telling all my friends online, you know, when you finish working for Child Welfare Services, come to Needle. Fantastic, it's calm, no screaming, no hollering, no none of that. This is where it's at. So I'm really glad to be part of the group.
Welcome, Kimberly.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We love
Welcome.
having you, Kimberly. We love it.
Oh, by the way, Kimberly, I retired after 35 years with the County of San Diego. I was in HR. The screaming and crying from the employees are sometimes the same as the CWS Child Welfare Services. Well, but we'll talk later. We'll talk later.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Like doing a TRO against one of my employees, but that's another story. Okay, so I think another person here is, we'll have to highlight her, is Mary Ann. You want to
come up, Mary Ann?
Oh, wait, we can,
She'll come up.
okay, Mary Ann, why don't you come up here? There you are, right here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann, and I've been stitching since I was a little girl. My grandma and my mom, and actually on all sides of the families are avid stitchers. And I didn't get to do very much stitching during my working career, but again, now that I'm retired, I'm challenging myself to learn all different kinds of stitching. And I've never done needlepoint, so I want to learn how to do it correctly. And I really like all the different stitches that you can use and all the different fibers. That's really exciting.
Okay.
Okay.
So I plan on paying attention. Maybe I'll learn something.
Don't worry, we tend to repeat ourselves, so
Okay.
we'll see how it goes. Well, thank you, Kimberly.
Welcome.
Poor woman, we made her kneel, so. Okay, so we're gonna get to the exciting part. Chris, you want to announce our winners? Oh, wait, hold on. I need my pen so I can write down who's who.
I'll send you an email.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the door prize winners today are Carrie Arn, Judy Boland, Shirley Burns,
Oh,
Cheryl Forrester, Joanne Ghazi, Jennifer Kiss, Esther Wells, Dottie Rowan, and the gift certificate winner is Kimberly Scott.
Oh, that's exciting.
Julie gets two. Judy, no, one is Carrie, two is Judy.
Yeah. Okay, one is Carrie. Two, two is Judy.
Here, you can get it. And then she'll send us, the others are all out. Except, yeah,
Yes.
that's yours.
Wow.
And then Judy Bowling gets this. Who's number three? I'm sorry.
They're all out.
Number 3 is Shirley Burns.
Three is Shirley Burns. Okay, we'll mail yours.
Judy, right there.
Okay. Number 4, I gotta write down
Number 4 is Cheryl Forrester.
Oh, whoa.
Forrester. Okay.
Number 5 is Joanne Ghazi.
Okay, Joanne. Wow, you got the needle minder. Okay. Ghazi, G-H-A, okay, G-H-A-Z-I. Okay. Number
6 is Jennifer Kiss.
oh, Jennifer. Okay, you get the Aztec stitch notebook pad. Yes. Okay.
Number 7 is Esther Wells.
Esther Wells.
Number
Okay.
8 is Dottie Rowan.
Dottie. Okay, number 8. What happened to the book?
You were
Okay.
using it as a sample?
No. Oh, number 8. Dottie. How do you spell Dottie's last name? Dottie.
Rowan.
Okay, I'll mail this out to you, Dottie. You got the sample book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty stuff here. So
And then number 9 is our Kimberly Scott.
Our
That's a
Kimberly
gift
Scott.
That's a $25 gift certificate, Dottie, not Dottie.
Kimberly. So you can apply for it. We'll tell you the process. Chris is really good at, that has a great instructions on how to redeem your gift certificate. So no worries there. But in any case, this is the end of the program portion. And we could stop recording now, Joe.